every so often I will have a tweet and it's just like a brain fart. And those are my tweets that go the widest, which just either shows the testament to the shit quality of my usual product on Twitter, or the shit quality of the average intellect on Twitter, or a mix. One of those that happened was when I said there's no one more privileged than the white girl who refused to go to school until literally everyone on Earth changed the weather for her, referring to, of course, Greta Thunberg. And yesterday I had a similar one. Where this clip we're about to watch, which is Kayleigh McEnany, who's the new White House press secretary, an ex-paramour of Gina Visconti, pictured there, she had a presser and she went ham. And I just wrote, not even clever, I said, this is the most I have receipts in the history of having receipts. Rogan liked it, Joe Rogan. Like, this is the tweet of yours, mine I like, that you like, Joe Rogan, this one? I've got some clangers in there. So the thing that I found interesting about this is it's almost cast like a Hollywood movie. Because you have the reporter, and he is like TV ugly. No, not TV ugly. TV ugly is still gorgeous, but he's like, you know, like when someone is like normal looking, like a 5 in TV, that means that you know that they're a villain and hideous, right? Then you have the blonde, you know, Reese Witherspoon, you know, she's got that vim and vigor, and she just, with a smile on her face, puts him in his place. The thing that Reagan did very well, and that people appreciate, is when you do these things with a smile on your face and with a positive affect, many humans, being animals, respond not to the content of what you're saying, but the presentation. And so many of these corporate journalists just look so miserable. If you don't understand politics at all, you think, okay, I don't want to be on this person's team. So let's watch her bring the receipts.
Yeah.
Kayleigh, in a previous life, before you were press secretary, you worked for the campaign, and you made a comment, I believe, on Fox, in which you said President Trump will not allow the coronavirus to come to this country. Given what has happened since then, obviously, would you like to take that back?
Okay, pause it. So this is why he's a con artist and why she's right to nuke him. If she had wanted to take it back, she could have done that at any point. You don't have to do it at that moment in front of the cameras. Their job, ostensibly, people think, is to provide information to the public. Their job is not, ostensibly, to be like, hey, remember you said this? You were wrong. Now what? That's not providing information. That's being confrontational and being challenging, which you have every right to do. But let's not pretend that this is like, oh, I'm here for interested information. This is, oh, remember, this is the people who correct your grammar. Remember when you said this? Well, you were wrong. Now what? I gotcha. Score one. And I'll show you the rest of this clip in a second. She hits him so hard, people on Twitter were like, well, obviously that question was planted. And it's like, it's not planted, because once you understand the code of the matrix, you see it everywhere. You know exactly how these types are operating. You know their job is there to make a fool of you, to ask you these questions that are not questions but are performative. And, you know, the quintessential example of this historically is when people say, as an example, do you still beat your wife? And how do you answer that? It's the premise is absurd. It's like, well, and he's right, though. She said something that was inaccurate. But it's like, okay, I said something that was inaccurate months ago. How is that helping anyone now? And watch her response as she came prepared with quotes.
Well, first, let me note, I was asked a question on Fox Business about the president's travel restrictions. I noted what was the intent behind those travel restrictions, which is we will not see the coronavirus come here. We will not see terrorism come here.
You know what else is funny? What else is funny? When it's as if when she had said that on Fox. You know, I've done a lot of these shows, obviously. When you're on these shows and just running your mouth, like shooting from the hip, these aren't like sworn statements in court. Right, you're speaking a little loosely, and in any other context, he would know this and he would understand this. When she says President Trump's not going to allow coronavirus to come here, she's not saying, I guarantee that President Trump will not allow one case of coronavirus to be here. What she's saying, inaccurately, in retrospect, is President Trump's going to make sure that this doesn't become a problem here. Turns out he did not either have the capacity or ability or whatever you want to blame it. But yeah, go on.
Terrorism come here, referring to an earlier set of travel restrictions. I guess I would turn the question back on the media and ask similar questions. Does Vox want to take back that they proclaim that the coronavirus would not be a deadly pandemic?
Pause it. By the way, when people were engaging in autistic screeching on Twitter about this, they were saying, "Look, she didn't answer his question. She just asked her other questions. Like, she just answered. She was just clarifying what she meant by that comment vis-a-vis being similar to a ban on preventing terrorism from happening." So they're like, "Oh, well, she didn't even answer it because they didn't even register that part because they register this part's about to come because this is the good shit."
Pandemic? Does the Washington Post want to take back that they told Americans to get a grip? The flu is bigger than the coronavirus. Does the Washington Post likewise want to take back that our brains are causing us to exaggerate the threat of the coronavirus? Does the New York Times want to take back that fear of the virus may be spreading faster than the virus itself? Does NPR want to take back that the flu was a much bigger threat than the coronavirus? And finally, once again, the Washington Post, would they like to take back that the government should not respond aggressively to the coronavirus? I'll leave you with those questions, and maybe you'll have some answers in a few days.
Yeah, Kayleigh,
Thank you very much.
You were prepared.
You heard that, someone. You were prepared for that. If your role is to find information and someone has answers for your questions, being prepared is a good thing. Isn't that great? Oh, I had all these questions. They're all answered. My job's so easy. If your role is to undermine people and put on a show, and you're not allowed to put on the show because you got put in your place, then yeah, them being prepared is a problem. It was funny that she's also wearing white. Like oh, she's such an angel. I also want to point out how interesting it is, in my view, that she's not quoting Chuck Schumer, Pelosi, Governor de Blasio here in New York City. Pelosi was talking about San Francisco. She said similar comments. They're specifically sticking it to the press, and they're naming media outlets by name. This is a very big change in how things have, how the right and the Republicans specifically have approached politics. This is a very recent change, and this is a very healthy change, because before it would be, here are Republicans, Democrats fighting in Washington, and the New York Times gets to sit back and just throw grenades, and then go home and never any consequences. And it's like, wait a minute, why am I hitting this person in the face and getting hit in the face while this one's lobbing grenades and has no consequences for their chicanery? It's like, wait a minute, I should go, the grenade's a bigger problem than this old lady. And she's figured this out. And the other thing is, what's funny about this, the weaponizing, they have to report it. They can either, now a lot of times they would try to frame it like, oh, blah, blah. It's a lot quicker to watch the clip than to read the article about the clip, which tries to misconstrue or contextualize in their narrative what you all just saw.